Thank you, sir, for your very, very kind words of introduction. I also want to thank the organizing committee for inviting me here. It's a real honor, a real privilege to give a talk in this Vidnyan Mahotsav. Manohar Parrikar ji was somebody who we all admired very much. We greatly respected his vision, and so it's a real honor to be here, to be amongst you. First of all, good morning.
Good morning.
So I think you're still awake. It's great to talk to such a large audience of students. I understand that you are from 9th standard to 12th standard. Doesn't give me that many opportunities nowadays to be among students, so this is one of those opportunities that I cherish very much. May I have the presentation? Thank you. So I'm going to talk about green hydrogen and its particular relevance to India, why India should be looking at hydrogen as an important green and clean energy source. Okay, so I'm going to keep this talk very simple. There are a few things that I will talk to you about, tell you a little bit about hydrogen, why it is important to our planet in general, particularly why it is important for us in India. What are the hydrogen technologies that are today available, where is the world going, and what do we expect out of hydrogen for India. Okay? So my focus is going to be for all of us, for particularly for India. Okay, so let me begin by telling you about hydrogen. I don't think this is moving. Okay, there you go. So Professor Brett told you a little bit about the periodic table, right? And I'm going to start by telling you that hydrogen sits right at the first element of the periodic table. So it's interesting from that perspective. Of course, its atomic number is 1, and that's why it's the first element. But also that it's a very light element. Its molecular weight is only 2 grams per mole of this particular compound. So very interesting first element of the periodic table. Can you help me move the slides? Thank you. What is more important is that hydrogen is the most abundant element in the entire universe. Okay? The most abundant. It was the first element that was formed after the Big Bang, when the mass and energy separated and mass started forming. Hydrogen was the first element that was formed in the universe, and so it's the oldest element in the universe, and of course the most abundant element in the universe. Next slide, please. And on our planet, you don't find hydrogen as a gas, as a pure element. It's always trapped in the form of various compounds, and the most important compound in which you find hydrogen is water, of course, right? And that's abundantly available on our planet. And why it is interesting for us, water as a source of hydrogen, is that one can actually convert water into hydrogen, and this is actually happening by an interconversion of electrons into protons or hydrogen at the end of it. And so this interconversion between electrons that you can produce from, say, solar electricity or from other sources converts that into hydrogen, and you can convert it back into electrons and water. And this interconversion is very important because it actually gives you very high efficiencies. You can actually convert from water to hydrogen very efficiently at about 75% efficiency, and you can convert hydrogen back into water and of course electrons at about 60% efficiency. These numbers are very, very high numbers compared to any other technologies that are available. So this is another interesting aspect about hydrogen. The third is that hydrogen is available also in the form of biomass. Okay, and we have plenty of biomass in the world, and of course in India as well. We have all heard about this stubble burning problem, right? And that is biomass, and there's plenty of hydrogen available in that biomass. There's of course a lot of carbon, but there's also a lot of hydrogen available in the biomass. How can you take that hydrogen out of the biomass? So there are technologies today which are called gasification technologies, and these are industrial scale gasifiers, where you take biomass, you shred it into fine powder, and you put it into this big reactor called a gasifier, which essentially sort of separates the biomass into its elements. Hydrogen is one of them, and you can extract that hydrogen from the biomass. But what is happening today in hydrogen space is that hydrogen is actually derived from fossil fuels. And one particular source of hydrogen that is used today is natural gas. Okay? And these natural gas is extracted from oil rigs like this, which are sitting on the ocean floor or on the land, extracting natural gas out, and then you can separate hydrogen from natural gas. For those of you who know, natural gas is methane, it's CH4, right? So you take methane and you split it into carbon and hydrogen, and that's how hydrogen today is removed. And in fact, almost 99.5% of hydrogen that we use today on the planet is taken out of natural gas. And how do you do that? These are large industrial scale processes called the steam methane reforming process, where you react methane with steam to produce hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Okay? So this is how hydrogen is produced today in the world. But you can see that there is a problem, because while you are producing hydrogen, you are also producing carbon dioxide. And how much carbon dioxide? You produce 10 tons of carbon dioxide for every ton of hydrogen you produce, right? And I don't have to tell all of you that carbon dioxide is the most potent, the most important greenhouse gas today, which is causing the concerns with climate change. And so this is clearly not a process that is very attractive to produce hydrogen. Okay, so what have we learned so far? We've looked at hydrogen is available and can be extracted from multiple sources on Earth. These sources are generally abundantly available. Water, biomass, for example, is abundantly available. But when you extract hydrogen from any of these sources, this extraction requires energy. Okay? So you're going to consume energy to produce that hydrogen. And therefore, as of today, hydrogen is a bit expensive. Okay? Where is hydrogen used today? Okay, hydrogen is used primarily in refineries. Refinery is an industry which takes crude oil or natural gas and produces all the diesel, petrol, the jet fuel and all of those fuels. It also produces a lot of materials that you use. Plastics, for example, comes from crude oil. And in order to make diesel, excellent quality diesel, hydrogen is used in a very large quantity. Hydrogen is also used to make fertilizer, right? Which is the most important compound in fertilizer that you know? Ammonia, right? Ammonia is what is primarily used to make fertilizers. Ammonia is NH3, one atom of nitrogen, 3 atoms of hydrogen, and that is made by taking nitrogen from the air and the hydrogen that we have seen how it is coming from, you react them to make ammonia, right? So fertilizer industry uses a lot of hydrogen. And in also chemical industries, for all the drugs and pharmaceutical materials that we use, hydrogen is used in a very significant way. So this is one of the uses of hydrogen. Hydrogen also now is considered as an excellent fuel for your vehicles, and Professor Brett showed a hydrogen car, and I'm going to show you some more. And so hydrogen is an excellent fuel. Why? Because it has very high calorific value. The calorific value of hydrogen is about 3.5 times that much of diesel. Okay? What is also important is when you burn hydrogen to produce energy, you get only water, because hydrogen reacts with oxygen to produce water. There are no carbon dioxide emissions, and therefore hydrogen is a very green fuel. And so because of its very high calorific value and because it's a very clean fuel, hydrogen is considered as the fuel for the future for automotive industry, and Professor Brett talked about it. There's a problem though with hydrogen. You know, hydrogen, as I said, in the periodic table is the first element, very low molecular mass, and therefore it has very low density. How low is low? You can take a 10-liter bucket, fill it with hydrogen, and it will only weigh 1 gram. Okay? So it's as low density as that. And therefore, if you want to store hydrogen and you want to transport hydrogen from one place to another, you have to pack it into cylinders at very high pressures. And today, in fact, there are carbon fiber cylinders where hydrogen is pressurized at about 1000 bars. That's 1000 times the atmospheric pressure. Okay? So hydrogen has to be packed at high pressure into these cylinders, And if you remember, Professor Brett talked about safety concerns with hydrogen, and this is one of the safety concerns. Hydrogen is a very flammable gas and has to be packed at very high pressures, and so this is practically a bomb, right? And so there are these kinds of concerns about hydrogen. So what have we learned so far? We've learned that hydrogen is the most abundant element. It's trapped in the form of molecules such as water and biomass on the earth. Multiple sources for hydrogen available. You need some amount of energy to extract the hydrogen from these sources. It's a very high calorific value. It's a great fuel, zero emissions, but has a problem of very low density. Okay, so that's a little bit about hydrogen. Let's go to why is it important to our planet. And again, Professor Brett talked about carbon emissions and about climate change. Right? This is one of the most important problems that we as human race face today, and in fact it has become almost an existential problem. If we do not do anything about greenhouse gas emissions in the next 10 years, we will live in a very, very difficult world. This slide tells you about what is called the 6th assessment report of a committee called IPCC, and it tells you about how human emissions, emissions caused by humankind, human civilization in the last only 150 years has become the biggest problem for climate change. So for example, here the top chart here shows how the surface temperature of the earth, the average surface temperature of the planet earth has increased, and you can see that increase there that has happened only in the last 150 years. For millennia, the Earth's temperature was varying, of course, but not to this kind of temperature changes. And that is caused because of greenhouse gas emissions. The amount of carbon dioxide that is present today in our atmosphere is about 420 parts per million ppm, and that's almost doubled in the last 150 years or so. And this is all a little dangerous now. So what has happened is in the last year, that is 2021, the IPCC came out with this very, very nice report that tells for the first time the scientific basis of climate change. And in fact, the Nobel Academy awarded two very, very important people, the Nobel laureates who won the Nobel Prize in Physics, who actually developed the science behind climate change. Then we had last year the COP26, and COP26 was very important because 195 countries came together and made important pledges, including our own country, India. So climate change is of course very, very difficult. You may have seen or heard bushfires in California, in Australia, very arid temperatures. You've seen instances of drought, and you have seen cyclone. That just last week we had a major cyclone right in India in the city of Chennai. And so these extreme events have been happening at much higher frequencies that we have not been used to so far, and all of them have been attributed to climate change. And so what role does hydrogen have in this climate change effect? Hydrogen, as I said, is interesting because you can take renewable energy like solar energy or wind energy and convert it into hydrogen through these processes of electrolysis. And Professor Brett talked about electrochemistry. This is one of the ways by which you can convert electrons from solar or wind into hydrogen. And once you make hydrogen, you can then use it as an energy source which does not give any emissions to produce energy again, right? So you can use it as a fuel, you can use it in industry for refining purposes and so on, or you can convert it back into electrons without any emissions at all. And so we call hydrogen a Swiss knife. It's an ability to take renewable energy and convert it into molecules and back and forth, right? So it's a very interesting energy vector, and that's why everybody seems to be interested in hydrogen. Okay, so I tried and told you about a little bit about why hydrogen is important from the perspective of climate change. Let's talk a little bit about why hydrogen is important for India. Okay, so a lot of numbers here which I'm not going to get into many details, but a few numbers are worth looking at. India is a growing economy. I think we should be very proud as a country that we are one of the very, very few countries in the world today, post-COVID, which are on a significant growth path. And if we continue to do that, our economy is expected to reach anywhere between $5 to $8 trillion just by the end of this decade. Okay, so we are all very aspirational people. We all want the best that life has to offer to us. But that means that we have to consume a lot of energy, and our energy demands are going to double very, very quickly. Now, it's important to ask, how do we produce that much energy? We all are going to need that energy. How are we going to produce it? If we do it as of today, we are taking a lot of fossil energy, fossil fuels like crude oil and natural gas and coal. We are burning all of these and producing a lot of carbon dioxide. How much carbon dioxide? We are about 2.6 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year. Okay? That is the amount of carbon dioxide that we as a country are emitting, and we are today the world's third largest greenhouse gas emitter. It's something that we are not very proud about. And therefore, there are two problems with our energy scenario today. We are not very self-reliant. We are not Atmanirbhar in energy, and we are producing a lot of greenhouse gas to fuel our demand for economic growth. And so what we need to do as a country is to look for ways by which we can not only increase our energy output, but also do it in a clean and effective manner. And there are multiple ways we can do it, and hydrogen is, of course, one of those ways by which we can produce clean and green energy. And that's why hydrogen is important for India. In the climate conference COP26 in Paris last year, our Honorable Prime Minister made an important announcement that he called Panchamrut. There are 5 things that the Prime Minister announced. He announced that we will produce 500 gigawatts of non-fossil energy in India. 50% of our energy requirements will come by renewable energy by the end of this decade, and so on and so forth. And we also announced that by 2070, we as a country will go to net zero. That means whatever amount of CO2 carbon we consume or we emit, we will also capture it, so that there is no net emissions that we will produce as a country. Now, this is not a very simple target. These are all very difficult targets, because what we are looking at is today we are producing energy almost upwards of 80% by using fossil fuel, and therefore emitting a lot of CO2. But we have to move to somewhere where we will produce 50% of our energy from renewable sources. And this is a massive transition for going from fossil to renewables, and therefore it's a very challenging and not so easy transitions. If you look at the various sectors where emissions come today, the ones in green, which are industry and heavy transportation like trucks and buses, this is where the emissions from these sectors are not easy to met by just electricity, just batteries, for example. And these are the two sectors. The one in green are the ones where we believe in India and everywhere in the world, hydrogen is going to play a very important role, right? I told you about how hydrogen is used in industry, like refineries and fertilizers. Can we make that hydrogen without emission of CO2? Okay? And I talked about hydrogen as a great fuel for automotive sectors. Can we drive our trucks and buses using hydrogen as a fuel, which is derived without producing any emissions? So now India is blessed with a lot of sunshine, right? And in fact, we should be again proud that one of the world's largest solar parks is right here in India, in Rajasthan. It's called the Badla Solar Park. It's today the world's largest solar park, and that's about 2.25 gigawatts of power that it produces. We are also a tropical country. We have a lot of rain, we have a lot of monsoon, we have a lot of water. We talk about water scarcity, but if you really think about it, as a country, on average, we get enormous amounts of rains. So if we manage our water resources well, is something that is very useful, along with the solar energy, to produce really green and clean hydrogen without any CO2 emissions. Okay, so because of these two factors, hydrogen is going to be very important for India, because we can produce hydrogen without emissions of CO2, based purely on renewable sources like solar and wind, and using the lot of water that we receive in our country every day. So how is the world looking at hydrogen technology? This is a world map, and the dots there that you see are places where hydrogen technologies are today getting deployed. And you will see that almost everywhere in the world you are seeing a lot of excitement about deploying hydrogen-based technologies. Particularly in Europe, there's a huge concentration of interest in hydrogen technologies. In China, you can see a huge interest in hydrogen technologies, in the US, in Australia, and so on. And I think it's time that India also starts putting a lot of interest in hydrogen, and I'll show you how that is actually happening. So these are various technologies for hydrogen. Okay, on the left you see a fuel cell, and this is one of the best fuel cells that is produced in the world today. And this is a factory that produces fuel cells. And so today we are actually producing large numbers of fuel cells. In fact, China has one of the largest industries that produces fuel cells. These are electrolyzers that take water and split water into hydrogen and oxygen using renewable electricity, and that's the first plant in the world in the UK that is commercially now producing electrolyzers in large quantities. This picture here is carbon fiber tanks which are put inside a big trailer, and this is where hydrogen can be stored at as much as 700 bar or 1000 bar. And these are very safe technologies. You can fire a bullet into it and nothing happens to hydrogen. And this is how hydrogen is getting transferred today. And these are various vehicles which are running today on hydrogen. There is a small train in Europe that is running on hydrogen. There are about 7,000 trucks and buses today, many different parts of the world that are running on hydrogen. And this is the best hydrogen car, which is called the Toyota Mirai. Mirai is a Japanese word for future. And this is one of the futuristic cars, and it's actually commercially sold today. That's the world's first green steel plant which uses hydrogen to reduce iron oxide to iron. Okay, so there's a lot of global excitement about hydrogen, and the technologies for hydrogen production, storage, and utilizations are getting very quickly mature. So hydrogen has really, I would say, arrived now on the scene. And therefore, what do we expect about hydrogen in India? What can hydrogen do for India? So, in India, we can produce hydrogen by a variety of sources. Okay, and I'm again not going to read through all of this, but a few points I would like to say. I talked about grey hydrogen, which is hydrogen produced from natural gas, right? And I said that it produces 10 tons of CO2 per ton of hydrogen. As a country, we are today producing and using about 5 million tons of grey hydrogen. Okay, so we are producing 50 million tons of CO2 and emitting it. Clearly not something that we should be doing in the future. And therefore, what we really want to do is come to either blue or green hydrogen. This doesn't mean the hydrogen has any color. Hydrogen is actually a colorless gas. But these are color codes. These are color codes given to hydrogen to tell you about where the hydrogen comes from and how much CO2 is emitted in producing hydrogen. So blue hydrogen is where you produce hydrogen from grey, that is from methane, but you also capture the CO2 and you sequester the CO2. Okay, there are multiple ways of sequestering CO2. So you don't let the CO2 go out in the environment, you capture it. And that's called CCUS, carbon capture and utilization and sequestration. Okay, so hydrogen produced from grey, but taking the CO2 and capturing is called blue hydrogen. But the most important one is green hydrogen, where you use renewable electricity, there's solar and wind, and you use that electricity to split water and produce hydrogen, and that's called the green hydrogen. And India is actually betting big on making green hydrogen because, as I said, we have a lot of solar energy potential and we have a lot of water available from a variety of sources. And so India is actually betting big on green hydrogen. In fact, on the 15th of August 2021, which is the most important speech given by the Prime Minister of the country, our Honorable Prime Minister announced in that speech that hydrogen green hydrogen can provide a quantum jump for India to address its climate change issues. So this is a very, very big announcement by none other than the Prime Minister. There are some interesting drivers today that are pushing us to go to hydrogen. Okay? For example, the Ukraine war has practically stopped the flow of natural gas to Europe. Okay? And therefore, Europe is saying, what else can I do if natural gas is not available? And so Europe is going big time in hydrogen, and they are demanding hydrogen. It's actually an opportunity for India to produce hydrogen and to export hydrogen to countries in Europe. The natural gas prices because of this war have shot up. They have almost doubled. Okay, so natural gas or diesel, petrol is not as cheap as it used to be 2.5 years ago, and that's another driver to go to cleaner energies like hydrogen, and so on and so forth. So the things on the right hand side are actually a roadmap, a plan for how hydrogen will be used in this country. We are looking at, in the near term, in the next 5 to 10 years, we are looking to produce 5 million tons of hydrogen from water splitting. For this is green hydrogen, and it will phase out the grey hydrogen that is used in the refining and fertilizer sector. By about 2040, we are looking at producing double the amount, 12 million tons of hydrogen, and this will be used to a large extent in running our trucks and buses on our highways. And in the very long term, we are looking at using hydrogen to produce steel, cement, glass, and so on. Okay? So that's roughly how India is planning to use hydrogen. But if you want to produce 5 million tons of hydrogen, we will need something like 100 million liters per day of water and about 32 gigawatts of electrolyzer. We need about 100 plus gigawatts of solar and wind. We need that much amount of land. This is, by the way, about 0.1% of India's land mass. Okay, so not very large. We need huge investments, about $80 billion of investments to produce these 5 million tons of green hydrogen. But if we do that, we will reduce the CO2 emissions of the country by a very significant amount. At least about 30 million tons per year of CO2 emissions will be avoided. And we will also save a lot of foreign exchange by reducing the imports of natural gas by substituting that with hydrogen produced within the country. Okay, so what the country is now planning is looking at 10 states where hydrogen can be produced. This is based on understanding where solar energy is available, wind energy is available, water is available, biomass is available, and so on. And then use that hydrogen where it is required, right? So you produce hydrogen very close to where it is required, so that you don't have to transport hydrogen for very long distances, and that brings in a lot of economic advantages. So decentralized way to produce hydrogen, produce where it is needed, avoid very long distance transportations. And one very important thing that you guys should keep in mind is India is coming up with very large policies for transporting freight, that goods from one end of the country to another. We are building very large roads. This is called the Bharat Mala project, where very large roads are being built for transporting goods, not passengers, just for transporting goods across the country. And in such cases, hydrogen would be a very, very important energy source for clean transportation of these goods across the length and breadth of the country. Now, India is also experiencing a lot of interest in hydrogen. Many states have announced interesting projects in the hydrogen area. It's being actually spearheaded by the state of Kerala, and you will soon see by the end of next year many announcements coming from the state of Kerala for using hydrogen to do a variety of different things. And there are many technologies that India is developing in the country based on hydrogen. In fact, in this year's January 26th parade, I don't know if you saw, but there was this particular thing that was displayed in the parade. This is called the air independent propulsion for our nuclear submarines. And this air independent propulsion was developed in this country, and it's based on a hydrogen fuel cell. So we have this fuel cell sitting in our submarine. The submarine can go underwater, stay underwater for as long as 45 days. It does not have to surface. So these kinds of very interesting developments are happening across the country. And our corporate sector is also investing very big time into hydrogen. Reliance, for example, has announced very big plans 4 gigafactories, including a factory for making electrolyzers and fuel cells. In my lab in CSIR, we have been developing a lot of hydrogen technologies for many years. We have developed many of these technologies. Here is, for example, India's first indigenously built hydrogen fuel cell car. This is a small pilot plant that makes green steel based on hydrogen plasma. And there are many other technologies that are shown here. We've been developing these technologies for about 10 years now. This is India's first hydrogen fuel cell bus, which was launched 1 year earlier in December 2021. And we are very, very proud of developing the fuel cell that goes into this bus. Okay, so I'll end my talk by saying that we as a country are betting big on green hydrogen. We believe that India has the opportunity to become a global hub for hydrogen manufacturing, and instead of importing fossil energy, we have the opportunity to export clean energy to the rest of the world. We can also become a supplier for hydrogen manufacturing plants like electrolyzers. And what it means that it will create more jobs, it will propel economic growth. Of course, it will cause less pollution by reducing the CO2 emissions. But what we need to do as a country is to have really good policies that support these kinds of developments. Good policies, good incentives, support for research and development and for science that you guys may be interested in. And I think in this year we will start looking at many hydrogen pilots, many clusters of hydrogens coming up at different locations in this country. So overall, it's a very positive scenario, and I think hydrogen is going to contribute very significantly to India's need for producing clean energy and also in a self-reliant way. So, people like me are very, very excited about hydrogen as an energy vector and also contributing to the growth of this very interesting opportunity that we have as a country. Thank you very much for your attention. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your very informative talk. So what we see is usually
test.
So thank you for your very informative talk. And see, this is my comment, and I just want what you feel about it. So you have shown, and we know whoever is reading about all this hydrogen and all technologies, we know that the world is very much far ahead compared to us, and many times we find that we are little bit napping. That is what I feel. And today we are moving, means the government is giving a lot of incentive at a retail stage, means consumer and all those things are there for batteries. That is that to at lithium level. Though we know that it will not going to be a very sustainable or long-lasting solution for us. Whereas the world moves for fuel cell technologies, we are not very fast in moving in that direction. So what do you think? Where do we lack? Why are we always behind? Your distinct data also has shown that China is full of clusters of hydrogen now. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so I agree with you that we are a little bit behind here, but I think we have realized the potential of hydrogen much earlier than for many other technologies. We, for example, missed the silicon bus, as we call it. We started working in silicon many years ago. For some reason we stopped, and then we completely missed that whole thing, right? There are other events that I will not talk about, but we missed the silicon bus. We have missed the battery bus. We don't have a gigawatt factory in the country to produce lithium-ion batteries. What we do in both silicon and batteries is we import the modules and the cells, the solar cells or the lithium cells, and we put them together into modules. So the assembly part is what we do. We don't do the core technology manufacturing. Hydrogen will be different. Okay, so we have, as a country, realized the importance of hydrogen much earlier than we realize other technologies. Okay, and as I said, the Prime Minister himself announcing to the country is a very significant step forward. So we might be a little late, but still it's not that late that we should worry about. Okay, so I think we are there on time. We have today really enormous potential to not only produce hydrogen but also to produce to manufacture the plants that will produce hydrogen.
Just a secondary question, sir. Is there a disconnect between the scientific community and the political class that we lag maybe? And the second thing is, why are we not opening in a big way then for FDI in this case? I mean, we require huge investment.
Right.
We have only a company like Reliance or maybe some other person will come. KPIT, of course, is a technology-based place, so is doing something. But we require really vast investment if we are going to move ahead.
So the questions were, is India going to invest in a large way? Why are we not allowing FDIs, foreign direct investments, in the hydrogen economy? And your first question was, what can we do to push the connect between science and policy? So, in the second question that you asked, we are actually, so there is a national green hydrogen policy that is already there. Part of it has been announced, part of it is expected before the end of the financial year. You will see there many policies that will propel the growth of hydrogen economy in the country. There is a large PLI scheme that is going to be announced. There is massive support for R&D that is going to be announced. FDI investments will come, they are already coming, okay, in hydrogen sector, and that is the reason why the big corporates are announcing these large plants. It's not just Reliance, I only showed Reliance. There's Adani's, all the PSUs, the public sector undertakings, especially the oil and gas companies, large automotive companies like Tata's and Ashok Leyland's, everybody is investing in this area. Okay? It's not one or two companies. So there is a huge amount of interest in the corporate sector that is happening, and that is also propelled by FDIs. Coming to your just first question of connect between science and policy, I think some of that blame also lies on scientists. Okay? We are not articulate enough, okay, to influence the policymakers. But I'll tell you, in the hydrogen space, we have been very, very active. In fact, the National Green Hydrogen Policy of MNRE, we were an integral part of preparing that document, we as in several of the scientists. So the scientists are now articulating and getting involved in policy making, and that's why I feel that for hydrogen, we will not miss the bus as we miss for other things. I'm very optimistic about it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So I'm a student from PS Higher Secondary School. So my question towards you is, as we are moving forward with electricity, what are the chances of us using hydrogen as the fuel?
Sorry, how using what?
Hydrogen as the fuel.
Hydrogen as a fuel. Okay. A good question. I think there is a lot of articles that you might come across where it is claimed that batteries and hydrogen are competing with each other. Okay. In my opinion, that is a wrong way of looking at it. Batteries and hydrogen are only going to complement each other. To give you an example, if you have small vehicles like two-wheelers, three-wheelers, small cars, I think they are best run by batteries, battery electric vehicle. I'm talking only of vehicles which are non-fossil based, right? And that is because when you have a small mass that you want to drive, the battery is enough. The energy density of battery, that is how much energy that a battery can carry, is a little low. So you don't want a very large battery to go in a vehicle. So for small vehicles, smaller batteries is good enough. But when you start looking at a truck or a bus, something upwards of 10 tons vehicle, to just run that much heavy vehicle, you need an enormous battery. For example, a 12-ton truck will need a 4-ton battery. Okay, so your dead weight of the battery itself is a very large, about 25% of the weight of the truck, and you don't want to carry so much dead weight. Okay, and that is where hydrogen scores, because the hydrogen powertrain, that is the hydrogen fuel cell, the cylinders, and everything else that goes with it, doesn't weigh that much. Okay, and so and because hydrogen has a very large calorific value, as I talked about, you can run very long distances. So if you want to drive a truck for 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers non-stop, and you don't want to take a lot of dead weight with you, then hydrogen becomes a better option technologically compared to battery electric vehicles. Okay, so therefore, split between smaller vehicles for battery, larger vehicles for hydrogen. And therefore, there is no competition really there. One more thing you should keep in mind, that a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is not just fuel cell. There is a small battery also there. Okay, and I will not get into reasons why that battery is there. But the fuel cell and the battery are actually working in tandem, in collaboration, in synergy to propel the vehicle ahead. Okay, so batteries and fuel cells are very complementary technology. Please don't think them as competing technologies.
Any more questions?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
See, we had Elon Musk for electric vehicles. Will there be some capitalist for hydrogen vehicles?
Well, hopefully we will have the Adanis and Ambanis for electric hydrogen vehicles in India at least. But I think companies like Toyota, which have been around for many years, Tesla has only come now. Toyota has been around for a very long time, and those are the ones who really deeply understand technology. And honestly, the Toyota car, the Mirai car, is one of the best cars that you can drive, and I have had the opportunity to drive it a couple of times. It's so beautiful. It's completely noiseless. You can get water. You can collect water out of the tailpipe of the vehicle. Fully, you can have autonomous driven Mirai cars as well. So every technology that Tesla has, Mirai has as well. Okay, so to answer your question, an Elon Musk is not necessarily required for success. Success will come because there is a real need for it, and the technology is good enough to meet the criteria that are required, the success criteria that are required. And I think Mirai fuel cell is one of those wonderful technological advances to do that.
Respected dignitaries, my beloved student friends and teachers, invitees. It gives me immense pleasure to participate in this Manohar Parrikar Vidnyan Mahotsav we had at Goa today. Everybody knows about Manohar Parrikar's simplicity, honesty, and his brilliant mind. These qualities led him to complete successfully 4 terms of Goa Chief Minister and 1 time as Defence Minister, and very happy to say that he was the first IIT graduate as a Chief Minister of Goa. Goa government is celebrating Vidnyan Mahotsav on his honor and also for continuing his legacy and dedication to the state as well as nation, and also to create awareness about the science and technology among the school children as well as college students. I feel happy. This is one of the best part that the government of Goa is doing. So, what is the importance of science? Science creates awareness about the students, about the world, and it enhances the self-thinking. Science and technology inspire students to think differently, to feel differently, and even to feel differently. I am very lucky and pleased and honored to speak on this occasion. So thanks for the organizers for giving me this opportunity. And I'd like to ask, before my start talk, I'd like to ask, how many students you know about agriculture, and how many students you'd like to become what? What is your future dream? So I'd like to know by raising your hands. Let me know, honestly, what are all the professionals you know it before I start the agriculture education? May I request you to raise the hands to become engineers? Nobody? How many? I'm not seeing. So what about other professions? Medical? Medical? Yes, many of them are medical. And what about the basic sciences? What already Dr. Lele has told and also Dr. Brett has told? Physics, chemistry, mathematics. How many? The rest you don't know what you become, right? Pilots? Defense? Okay. Let me know how many of you know about agriculture? Do you know about agriculture education in India? Yes or no? I want answer from you. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Thank you. The lectures given by Dr. Brett and also Dr. Lele, they are also expressed about the agriculture. But unfortunately, the Goa government chief secretary didn't mention about agriculture. He mentioned about only engineering and medical, right? Since 60% of our livelihood depends on agriculture, it's very, very important to know about agriculture, because what we are today is only because of agriculture. You can live without doctors, without engineers for some days or many days, but you can't live without food every day. So every day, your day starts with milk, your day starts with food, lunch, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Every day you want food, right? So if you want food, you should remember how it comes and where it comes. And also what we breathe air is also from the plants. Otherwise you would not have survived. Right? And whatever that Dr. Lele and Dr. Brett has told, the CO2 emission and climate change, that is also absorbed by the plants. CO2 is absorbed and it's giving oxygen to us. So those are the two life-saving things that plants are giving. So for that, we should be grateful to the environment and nature. So coming to this milestones in agriculture development and prospects of agriculture education in India, I'd like to, before going for the prospects of agriculture education, briefly I'd like to introduce, whether you know it or not, but you should know it, that what is the importance of agriculture, what we have achieved so far. It is a proud moment to know the achievements in agriculture in India. Next slide, please. Do you know these crops? These are the major crops grown in India, and they are the staple foods: wheat, rice, cotton, of course, we wear the clothes, jawar, and fruits and vegetables, they are a must. Earlier, we were talking about only the nutrition security, this food security. Now we have to concentrate on. Oh, it is not working? Where is that? Okay. You have separate pointer? Okay. So you have the, earlier where Government of India was concentrating only on food security. Now Government of India is giving thrust on nutrition security, by providing food for vegetables and fruits. Because earlier we were concentrating only on carbohydrate-rich products, now we have to concentrate on protein-rich products. We should not forget history also. When India got independence, our agriculture system was underdeveloped. It was not self-sufficient. We are importing food products from foreign countries. And before independence, during 1943, we faced a Bengal famine wherein 2 to 3 million people died. That was a great tragedy. It is not because of the monsoon failure, it is because of the policy failure. And the great remark, the worst remark made by Honorable Prime Minister of UK, Churchill, what he said, because of the food shortage, during that time, foods were exported to UK during the World War, and then there was a shortage. Then he said, Indians breed like rabbits. That was the worst statement he made. And from 1946 to 1952, we imported an average of 3 million tons of food every year. So then the second Prime Minister, Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri, took the power in 1964-65. He declared that we have to sacrifice one meal per day because we are importing a lot of food grains, which was not good also. Then after successfully completing won the war, Pakistan in 1965, he popularized the slogan. Earlier it was only Jai Jawan, then he made it as Jai Jawan and Jai Kisan, recognizing the need for self-sustenance and self-reliance to build a strong India. That was the slogan. So based on that, many people sacrifice one day meal from either Monday or any other day. So I am very happy to coming to the Indian agriculture. At present, in terms of agricultural production, the country holds the second position in the world to produce the food. And Indian agriculture has made rapid strides after independence. From food shortages to food surplus, from import to export, and from sustainable farming to intensive-led technology, that is mechanized farming, transgenics, and also the transgenic plants. Today, India is the fourth front remarking producer of many crops. More than 80 crops are being produced largely. It is all because of the Green Revolution in 1968, White Revolution, that is Milk Revolution, and Blue Revolution is the Fish Revolution, and then the Yellow Revolution is because of the edible oil. Coming to the position of India in agriculture or global level, India has only 2.4% of global land, 4% of global water. With only this 2% of global land and 4% of global water, India has to sustain, it has to feed 18% of the world population and 15% of the global livestock. See how much is almost 1/6 of the world population we have to feed. Coming to the food production status, 1947 it was just 50 million tons to feed 30 crore people. And after that, 2021, it was 130 million tons, 1300 million, this 130 crore people, and we produced a record production of 306 million tons. During 2021, the target was to produce 296 million tons. We have overreached the target and produced 306 million tons. Our target to produce by 2025 to feed 145 crores is 325 million tons. That means we can achieve this also. We are really working hard to produce the good hybrids as well as transgenics, high yielding varieties. Coming to the, I already told, that was only for the food security. This is for the nutrition security. During 2021, we produced the highest fruits and vegetables, that is 300 million tons, almost equivalent to the cereals. And with 180 million tons, with world's first place, milk and fish production is 11.4 million tons, and egg production is 57 billion eggs we are producing at present to feed the people. This contributes a lot to the nutrition security. That's how you are getting fruits and vegetables everywhere, nook and corner of the villages. The percent contribution, however, has been reduced from the agriculture. That is from 35% in 1995 to 2015. It's because of the service and industrial GDP has contributed a lot compared to the agriculture. And there are many reasons also why the GDP has been reduced. That contributions on GDP from agriculture is 14%, and it provides food to the 1.2 billion people, and it is sustaining the livelihood of 65% of the population. That means directly or indirectly, 65% of the population in India depends on agriculture. Provides raw materials to many industries. You name any industries, that is agriculture raw material is required. Even Dr. Lelezer has mentioned about the biomass for gasifiers, and also the chemistry, what Dr. Brett has told regarding this elements. All the elements are related to the agriculture, like fertilizers, pesticides and everything. They depends on the basic science, but agriculture is the applied science. Huge biodiversity. We are having around 46,000 species of plants and 86,000 species of animals in the planet. And it is the largest producer of the world of pulses, tea and milk. And we are producing second largest producers of fruits, vegetables, wheat and groundnut. And now we are exporting, we're really happy, we are exporting rice, that is Sona Masuri, and also the basmati rice to foreign countries, and also the Gaur gum. We are the second exporter of cotton as well as beef. Cotton is most important. Earlier cotton was also shortage. Now we are exporting a lot of cotton. So with all this, why this GDP contribution is reduced? Because sharp decline in agricultural land. Why it has been declined and this reduced? Because we are constructing roads, buildings, expanding so many industries. So that's why good cultivable land has been reduced, and are limited of 40% or 40 to 45% of irrigation. It is not fully irrigated, and more than 50% is under rain-fed vagaries conditions. And land availability has been reduced drastically because of the increase in population. If you can go through, in 1970 it was 2.2 hectares, and it has come in 2018, 0.18 hectares. Now still it has been reduced because of the increase in population. And you can see because of this, 83% of the population, farmers are very small and marginal, which possess 40% of the land but produce 60% of the products. And 17% of the large farmers, which possess 60% of the land, produces only 60% of the products. And we have a lot of post-harvest losses. We are not concentrating still because the investment is not there in post-harvest processing, storage, and also the storage, processing and value addition. Compared to the losses, nearly 1 lakh crore rupees we are losing due to the wastage of food, like especially perishable goods like vegetables and fruits. And food grain wastage is 10%. If you come to fruits and vegetables, it is 30 to 40%. If you save this again we are going to have produced 100 million tons of vegetables and also 1% milk. And food processing in countries like USA and Malaysia, a small country Malaysia, it's 80%, and France it is 70%, Thailand it is 30%, but India, the food processing is only 10%, which has got a lot of potential. Still we can enhance up to 30 to 40% if agriculture graduates or any graduates take the processing plants, start up the processing plants in the under Atmanirbhar Yojana. And another fact is there is a less investment in the agriculture sector because there is no much return expected as envisaged by many of the industrialists. That is food storage, food processing, marketing and infrastructure. So some facts, by 2050, what would be the expectation? That it has to feed 9 billion people in the world. For that, we have to have this 1.7 billion only in India. And food grain production would need to increase 5.5 million tons annually. And demand for high value commodities will go up by more than 100% because the consciousness of the protein nature food. And currently, 52% of the population is involved in agriculture. Coming to the actual topic, which the students are interested in BSc Agriculture or Agriculture Sciences, what is the scope of career and opportunities in India? The size of agriculture education in India is one of the largest education in the world, with 75 agriculture universities and many private colleges which are admitting around 15,000 students at the undergraduate level, 11,000 students postgraduate level, 2,500 students at the doctoral level, and there are so many deemed universities, and now enrollment is 75,000 of students in the agriculture universities. So this is the largest agricultural system in the world and one of the best education system in the world. So what is agriculture science? It is not just agriculture. Agriculture science consists of a broad subjects. It includes not only agriculture, horticulture, forestry, veterinary science, agriculture marketing. Agriculture deals with the agriculture crops. Horticulture science deals with the plantation crops, fruits, vegetables. Veterinary science with the livestock, health and welfare. Agriculture marketing, how the agriculture produce has to be marketed, that is the marketing. Agriculture business management, how the business. Agriculture has to be converted into business. Agriculture engineering is mechanization of agriculture because of the labor shortage. Now the mechanization is getting a lot of importance. Fishery science, that's, you know, the importance of fishery science, especially goans, I need not tell about that. Food processing, I told you, food processing is very, very limited in India. It's only 10%, it has to be enhanced. And dairy technology, the milk production, milk processing and storage and conversions into various products. And home science is also one of the, for the rural women, rural development, and also how to produce the nutritional calorie requirement, what are the calories required for human beings, and also for children's mental ability of the children. Those are being taught in the home science college. So what is BSc Agriculture? BSc Agriculture is a broad-based course with, I have told you, so many subjects are being covered with a great potential. It deals with things like, so many things I have told you. The one thing is, other industries may face downsizing, but agriculture can never fall prey because food is the basic necessity of life. Every day it's required. So there is a lot of scope, there will not be recession, and you have bright future in agriculture if you complete this. I am not saying that you have to enter agriculture. If you are really interested, you can enter the agriculture field. If after knowing this, BSc Agriculture, coming to this, it is a professional course equivalent to engineering and medical course. It has been declared in 2016 that it is a professional course. Salary is also on par with the UGC and also the technical courses like engineering and medical. So it is a 4-year degree course with 8 semesters, and the admission is purely on merit. No donation course except in few private colleges. That also donation is not much, but there are plenty of opportunities to enter the poor students into the agriculture because the course fee is also less. You have to spend a lot of in lakhs, many lakhs for completion of engineering and agriculture in a medical, but within 1 lakh you can complete the agriculture course of 4 years. And there are many scholarships available in the agriculture faculty. The course is divided into 8 semesters. The 4-year programs aims to provide related knowledge, practical skills and competence in agriculture. That means you can develop your own entrepreneurship. That is the skill we are developing in this course. The course fees are considerably lower in comparison. I already told you. That is very, very less. Within 1 lakh, you can complete the whole course. A student pursuing BSc Agriculture will study a wide variety of subjects including agronomy. That means within agriculture, what are all the subjects being taught? That is agronomy. It is the cultivation of crops, soil science. It is the health of the crop and fertility of the crops. And horticulture, it is the science of growing fruits and vegetables. Plant breeding and genetics, it is the development of the varieties by transgenics or by traditional methods. Entomology deals with the insect pests, harmful insects and useful insects. And plant pathology, it's about the diseases, plant diseases. Animal science, it is about the animal health and the management of the livestock population. Extension education is carrying the knowledge which has been developed in the universities to the farmers level. That is extension. It's one of the largest provider of the jobs in extension education. Sorry, I am affected with throat, that's why. Almost all the government agencies in the department, they are having agriculture department, they are all having the agriculture extension service to the farmers. Plant biochemistry, that secondary products can be produced and can be used. And agriculture economics, that is how much is the cost of cultivation, what is the profitability, that is to be worked out. And also at the policy level, what are all the policies to be made, that is through agriculture economics. And basics of biotechnology, that is to develop pisciculture plants and also transgenics plants, that you can establish nursery also in that. The degree prepares students for a wide range of careers related to agriculture and other allied industries. The demand for agriculture graduates is increasing day by day. So far, more than 85% of the graduates are employed and 15% are around self-entrepreneurs. Nobody is unemployed, I can say, those who have completed the BSc Agriculture or MS Agriculture or PhD. They are engaged in one or the other way. So this is the certificate of declaring the professional course as agriculture that Indian Council of Agriculture has declared in 2016 that it has been considered agriculture, horticulture and other sciences as the professional course equivalent to medical and engineering. It is a growing industry, as I have told you. It is a boom that it will increase job market for all the graduates of agriculture. So what I can do with BSc Agriculture, after having learned so many broad courses, what is my job? It creates industry, graduates, creates in the jobs in industries spanning across the dozens of fields. You can just go through next what I can show. What are all the jobs you can acquire after graduation? See, top career opportunities after BSc Agriculture. Agriculture research scientist. that is scientist in any of the ICR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research Institutes, or state agriculture universities, and you can become assistant professor of completing PhD in NET, and extension officer. I told you, in Department of Agriculture there are almost all the state governments, they are having the agriculture department wherein extension officer is being absorbed. Farm managers, many of the private farms also engage farm managers. Even the government farms, many farms are having the farm manager post. And assistant agriculture officer, this is again department. Subject matter specialist. In the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, there are some Krishi Vidnyan Kendras throughout all India level. There are more than around 400 Krishi Vidnyan Kendras, wherein in each Kendras there are 6 subject matter specialists in agronomy, soil science, horticulture, like that. So there are many opportunities to become the subject matter specialist. Even your subject matter specialist can be from your side, so that you can become the consultant for many crops. Research officer in many organizations. There are many state farm, corporation office, and also there are state farms wherein you can engage the state farm officer. And for agriculture, you need the basic seeds. Seeds are very, very important. If you provide good seeds to the farmers, you can increase this production by 50%. So good seed is very important. That is being taken by the National Seed Corporation as well as state seed corporations. So they engage lot of seed production officers in both the agencies. An officer at an airport, quarantine measures, that's also required for agriculture graduates. Field officers in banks, loan development officers, agriculture rural development officer in banks providing loans for the agriculture community, and production managers, that means to produce the agriculture crops and plantation crops, and food processing managers, they can be employed, and operation managers in fertilizers plants. As already told by previous workers that many elements are being converted, like NPK, that is being converted into urea, muriate of potash, single superphosphate, diammonium phosphate, all complex fertilizers. There's many fertilizer industries, they can be employed, and employees fertilizer, pesticides, and private companies for sales. Sale is very important after producing the fertilizers, and marketing officers in many fields, maybe in fruits, vegetables, and also the other faculties. And another one is self-entrepreneurship, that is agri-entrepreneurship. You can be a good seed producers, that has lot of opportunities, and you have good margin. Suppose if the normal crop fetches around 40 rupees, the seed will be around 100 rupees per kg. So likewise, you can produce seeds and sell to the farmers and also to the companies. And floriculture is also, India is one of the best exporting country to the Netherlands. Every day, many flights are going from Bangalore with flowers, either roses or so many things, so many flowers are going out of country. Landscape gardening, every industry need landscape gardening, and also the nursery. Everywhere nursery is required for flower production, forest production, and also the fruit production plants. For production of any plants, nursery is one of the best business. You can sell even the tomato nursery, chili nursery, brinjal nursery. So many nurseries you can establish. You can have good entrepreneurship. And agro-industry sector, estate tea gardens are also engaging, and agriculture engineering. Agriculture engineering is one of the best fields because mechanization is being popularized throughout the country because of the labor shortage. Either micro irrigation or the mechanical harvesting or mechanical spraying. So many things are developed by agriculture industries in agriculture engineering field. So coming to the sales and service representatives, forest producing managers, agriculture economists, food scientists, that is food processing industries, they will absorb as a food scientist, and veterinarian, environmental scientist, insect biologist, plant scientist, watershed scientist, irrigation engineer, that is micro irrigation, drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, subsurface irrigation. There are many fields which are being engaged. Animal scientist, aquaculturist, that is fish production, and poultry. These are the self-enterprises, poultry, dairy, fish culture, even sericulture, all those things you can have self-entrepreneurship. And organic crops grower. Now the awareness has come for the organic crops because of the pesticide residue increase and also fertilizer residue increase in some of the crops. Now the awareness has come to grow without any fertilizers and pesticides. That is the organic crops, which has got the premium price when compared to the normal crops. So that is one of the new slogan now, we have to grow organic crops. And soil production, food and agriculture science editor, even journalism, lot of importance is being given to the agriculture journalism. Natural resource conservation specialist, high school agri-science teachers. And in some of the states, the agriculture science has been introduced in schools. So many teachers are being engaged in that. In addition to that, there are many opportunities in government and private sectors, that is Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India, Irrigation Department, Fisheries Department, Horticulture Department, NABARD, National Agriculture Rural Development Banks, they are also absorbing the agriculture graduates. And IFCO, they are all private companies with the Farmers Fertilizers Cooperative, Central Warehouse Corporation, Food Corporation of India, they are also engaging the agriculture graduates as farm managers. Private multinational companies provide a lot of careers like Monsanto, DuPont, Syngenta, Nestle. They are all the good companies of seed producers, pesticide producers, and fertilizer producers, micronutrient producers. They are engaging, and even their salary is up to 1 crore annually. Some of the opportunities has been given after BSc completion. Certain skills like agri-entrepreneurship, research institute, management of farm practices are also developed, which can become the self-entrepreneurship in agriculture. So what next after BSc Agri? Shall we stop at BSc Agri or we can continue our graduation? After BSc Agriculture, they can appear for JRF, and that is Junior Research Fellowship, and Senior Research Fellowships can opt for higher education in the form of MSc. I am very happy that Junior Fellowships, more than 50% of the students are getting Junior Fellowships from the Indian Council of Agriculture Research based on some examinations, and the amount is 25,000 rupees per month plus HRA, and 35,000 rupees for SRF plus HRA for the Senior Research Fellowships. So they can continue these fellowships, PhD program as well as MSc programs. So join as a research fellow in the projects, many projects which are offering 45,000, 50,000 rupees per month, and farm managers only clear examinations of banks, and also they can, I already told that one of the introducer mine has told the forest, those who have completed forestry within 3 years, this 10 students could enter into the Indian Forest Service. So there are many opportunities. Those who can take up the forestry graduation, they can enter into the IFS, because most of the syllabus in forestry is related to the IFS, Indian Forest Service. And also they can, many of the students have entered the IAS, and you must have heard about Ashok Dalwai, who is our alumni from Karnataka, now is heading the dryland farming at the national level. So higher opportunities, like many fellowships are available in United States and also Commonwealth fellowships, which I had been in Indo-USSR fellowship, and also for PhD, and Commonwealth fellowship for postdoc. I went there to UK, and they are very lucrative and handsome with salary. And you can clear NET and also appear for Agriculture Research Service. One important thing is, all India level there is Agriculture Research Service equivalent to the IAS and IFS. They exclusively conduct examinations for the agriculture graduates, wherein the scientists will be recruited in the ICR institutes as S1 scientist, S2 scientist, like that. So they have got a lot of opportunities after competing in the examination. They can become the scientist at CSIR, BARC. BARC is also engaging because most of the mutations are also being taken place. There's mutation of seeds and also the mutation of plants. They are trying in various crops. That is BARC, and radioactive isotopes are also being utilized for the conversion of the mutated plants. ICR, Assistant Professor in State Agricultural Universities, Tata Institute of Social Science, and the IITs, NIRD, and also manage. They are also engaging the agricultural graduates. So you can see the private sector job after PSC, that is 1 crore Monsanto package for agriculture graduate has been given. You can see this, and these are all the attractive remuneration as well as in other fields. Food science and technology is also gaining a lot of importance nowadays. So these are all the international institutions where you can go. That is ICALA, CR, ICRISAT is also there in Hyderabad. CIMIT is one of the major wheat research institute. CIP and ILR. These are all the international research institutes where the agriculture graduates being absorbed in a large scale. So be aware. If you don't want to go anywhere for job, if you want to be self-reliant, want to be entrepreneur, you have many opportunities. Following other jobs and business you can do after completion of the BSc Agri. Start attending training in agro clinic so that you can put up your own business. There is one course after BSc Agri, that is Agri Clinic and Agri Business Management. It is a 45 days duration training program for exclusively for agriculture graduates. If you complete that, you can take up this agri entrepreneurship with a assistance from the NABARD up to the 40% for the general merit students, 50% for the women and SC/ST candidates. That is a subsidy, back-ended subsidy is available, and any amount of money is available on bank loan. So there is a gestation period also for repayment of the loans. You can establish any of the entrepreneurship through the help of the NABARD assistance and also from the Mudra. So India has got more than 50% of its population aging 25 this age with 50% of the population and 65% below the age of 35. So you have the bright future to start making the startups. Start your business on greenhouse technology. Start exporting. Exporting is also one of the lucrative business nowadays. You can export any other commodity just by computerization, like either grains, fruits and vegetables. Even one simple idea what the agri business centers they are doing is simply we are collecting from Karnataka, we are packing and sending it to the Goa. These fruits and vegetables, we are getting almost double the amount what we are getting in the present market at Karnataka. So it's only just 120 kilometers or 130 kilometers from Karnataka to Goa. We are getting the double amount of the what price they are getting in Karnataka. So it's a simple process, only packing and sending it to Goa by acquiring all the vegetables and fruits. This is simple. That is and if you can export other commodities to other countries, they have some norms, pesticide residue norms and fertilizer residue norms. If you follow that, you will get 100% or 200% profit in that. Start export of agricultural produce. Establish nursery. I told you, nursery has got a bright future. And establishing agri clinic in India, you can have consultancy of the service and also soil analysis you can do and give it. You can start your own consultancy service for particular crops like pomegranate, grapes, mango. For specialization of crops, the farmers will give some 1,000 rupees per acre for consultancy if you maintain that crop properly throughout the year. This is the Agri Entrepreneurship course, 45 days duration after BSc Agri. That is, it contains practical sessions on agriculture and allied sectors, and you will be taught how to write the detailed project for the project report for the banks, for applying banks and getting the subsidy from the NABARD, and exposure visits to various success stories institutions, and post-training modules hand-holding support from the ventures and can get credit up to subsidy of 35% for general merit, 44% for the women and SC/ST candidates. That is the theme-based refresher training program is also being offered by the Manage Hyderabad. So these are all the be your own boss. That is irrigation engineering, this greenhouse technology that growing in a poly house, fruits and vegetables. You can export this cucumber and also grow the flowers. You can export, grow the fruits, papaya, guava, and also plantation crops. You can send, you can earn money with this self-entrepreneurship. And these are the progressing fields. Lot of fields are there. Dairying, sheep and reed growing. Now sheep and sheep and goat rearing, they are called as ATMs. Every time money, anytime money is available. One sheep, if you grow for 1 year, that becomes triple. Within 2 years, it will be triple or 4. So you can, if you are getting 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 rupees from one goat, after 2 years, you will be getting 20,000 rupees like that. So it is almost 5 times you are increasing the sheep and goat revenue. And like this, dairying also is lucrative. And fisheries cultivation, poultry production, honeybee, and also this. This is what is that? Without soil culture, that is growing plants without soil culture, hydroponics and nurseries. You can see the hydroponics. People are following without any soil, just within the chamber. You can grow many vegetables and fruits. You can earn in lakhs. You need not have so many acres of land. So consultancy service for growing fruits, I told you, farmer will give per acre basis consultancy service. You can start your own business. You can have your advisor to the mechanical harvesting, mechanical spraying, irrigation, and so many things are there. Best nursery in Goa are available. So many plants are being purchased by the those who are living in cities. They will purchase many of the household plants like flowering plants and also the medicinal plants and other things. So a lot of scope is there for the kitchen gardening and other things. So you can establish nursery. And Madhya Pradesh government is coming with a scheme for providing 25 lakhs to the upcoming graduates or any of the entrepreneurs with a lot of subsidy. Like that, there are many. So with this, I'd like to conclude that agriculture industry is growing in a rapid pace, and as it does, the demand for qualified graduates is also increasing. The job market is booming, which presents a unique opportunity for college graduates to find work quickly, pursue a lot of opportunities there, ultimately grow their careers much faster than any other industries. I can bet you that lot of opportunities there and lot of career opportunities are there when compared to the other industries like IT technology, BT technology. So if you enter the IT technology, information technology or software technology, you will be always under stress. You have to work for 10 to 12 hours minimum a day, and you will not be knowing when you will be fired from the private companies. But here, job is guaranteed because you are self-entrepreneur. I would like to conclude with a great saying that is one of the great accomplished internationally renowned scientist and the father of Green Revolution, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, who said, if agriculture goes wrong, nothing else will have a chance to go right in our country. So that means agriculture is necessarily required for one and all. So with this, I'd like to conclude. I thank the organizers for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. If you have understood the subject, I expect some questions from you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Recently, government has allowed GM crops.
Yes, sir.
Why this controversy? Can you explain to us in scientific terms the positives and negatives of these GM crops?
So it's a good question, but delicate question, sir, to answer, because it's a policy matter also. No, it's okay. I can. Yes, sir. GM crops is nothing to do with any health issues. So many people are making bad propaganda about GM crops. They say it is harmful to the people. GM crops is there since 10,000 years, more than 10,000 years, because genetically modified crops, you can say this BT cottons, for example, BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, is there in the soil. It has been extracted from the soil, it has been introduced into the plants. Many countries, European countries, America and also China, they are adopting almost all the GM crops. GM crops, they have got more resistance to pests and diseases and also the drought resistant. You can say, sir, I was working on cotton. Can you hear me? I was working on cotton. There were a lot of insect pests in cotton, and farmers used to spray, used to take up the spray for completion of one cycle of cotton, more than 25 sprays. You can imagine how much residual toxicity were contributing to the or pollution to the nature. After the GM crop has been introduced, only 3 to 4 sprays have been reduced. So you can imagine how much quantity of fertilizer, this pesticide has been reduced. And that was especially in cotton, and also the maximum usage of pesticide in cotton as well as in rice. So that's why those who grow rice, especially in Karnataka, some areas, they are using a lot of pesticides and fertilizers. Very irresponsibly they use a lot of fertilizers and pesticides. And because of that, European countries are not accepting our export grains, that is especially rice. So there are some norms. GM crops have nothing to do with any harmful. One example I will tell you, when it was introduced in 96, there was a debate about this in the open auditorium in our agriculture university. There are some, environmentalists were also there, farmers were also there, and in America, that BT cotton, that is Bacillus thuringiensis transient plant, was already introduced in many of the countries. But these environmentalists, there is a lot of history behind that.
What are their fears?
What is that?
What are their fears?
What are their fears means the pesticide lobby is there. If they reduce the pesticide, that industry will be collapsed. One thing. So, if you reduce the sprays, naturally pesticide industry will collapse. That is through environmentalists they are sponsoring, and they wanted to pull the plants. When the farmers were there, we asked the farmers also in the open debate. No, sir, it will not affect any crops. That has been proved scientifically. It will not affect. It will not be harmful also. It is a bad propaganda that genetically modified crops, seeds cannot be grown further. That is not the case. It will not happen. So that's why I told you the present level of cotton production, it was earlier, it was 140, around 140 lakh bales in India. After the introduction of the BT cotton, it was 300 lakh bales. Just imagine the production level.
He says that our all age-old crops and
No, nothing to do.
completely vanish.
No, sir, it will not be. It is a wrong notion. I am guaranteed, because many of the scientists are also convinced now. So no need for going objecting for the GM crops. When Europe is very strict about this, about health issues, you know that, Europe and also America, but still they are growing soybean and maize, but still in India they are not being introduced. It's just because of some opposition.
Yes.
Yes, any other questions, please?
Hello.
Yes, please.
My name is Manoj Pashapur and I am from Goa Engineering College.
Yeah.
My question is, our population is growing very fast
Yeah.
and agricultural land is also decreasing.
Yeah.
So sir, how can we meet the requirements of food in future and how our technology can help it?
That's what the scientific technology you have to develop. That is producing high yielding varieties, producing the introduction of the GM crops, and also the introduction of the nano pesticides. What already told by Brett, I think Dr. Lely also, that nanoparticles like pesticides and also fertilizers. Now, nano particles of pesticides and also nano fertilizers coming, they can be reduced and used in small quantities rather than in tons of produce. And also through mechanization and micro irrigation, you can enhance the productivity. That's what I told you. From 2021, the target of food production was 296 million tons. We have reached 306 million tons. We have a target of around 325 million tons by 2025. That means we can achieve it. With intensive technology, not the traditional technology, with intensive led technology, we can enhance the production.
So, I am Shivam Kapri from Computer Science, from IT, Goa College of Engineering.
Okay.
So, my question to you is that we all know that this is the age of digital age.
Yeah.
Everything is connected to IT sector, whether it is business, whether it is everything. For example, Swiggy, Zomato,
Yeah.
everything, Amazon. So, how can IT sector put its nose in this sector?
Very good question. I'll tell you one example. The agriculture graduate who has completed from our college, our university, and he has completed this, some software courses also. He is managing with only 3 people the export and import of Bengal gram to Australia. His turnover in crores just after completion of the degree, in just by sitting this on the computer. He is selling. Somebody is there in buying, and somebody will be the buyers, somewhere will be the giver, producer. Then he is taking and selling directly. Even online purchase of all pesticides and fertilizers, you need not go to even shops. If you put any inland, they will come and drop you. That you can do it. Your business, lot of business you can do it. The most of the IT sector people are entering into the agriculture sector now.